What's going on, guys? Welcome to another mini episode of Eastern Current. So today I got Cameron on here again, and I forgot on the other podcast we recorded for this week to say Merry Christmas. This is all coming out the week of Christmas, or the week before Christmas, and we want to say Merry Christmas to y'all. Thanks for your support. We also want to say thank you to Eric Williams, who is a sponsor of this podcast. He's a realtor in town. He also has a YouTube channel. Eric Williams Fishing. We'll have that stuff linked below. Good dude, has a passion for the outdoors, and great person to buy a house from. He's actually helping me and my wife look for some land right now to build a house on in the near future. So excited about that. Also, go check out our Patreon page if you really like the content that we have over here. We got extra content, more podcasts over there. Try to put out extra podcast episode a week over there on Patreon. So, but me and Cameron wanted to hop on here and do another little mini episode about fishing solo and some productive ways to get out and be productive, or some productive ways to get out and target fish on your own. I don't get to do this very often, so Cameron's going to take a lot of this for us. Well, I'm going to be able to add some points to it, but I asked Cameron the other day, I was like, what's a good podcast topic? And he said fishing solo, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And so, a lot of times too, it's like I share with people, it's like you need to have your small circle of people you share fishing stuff with. And if they can't go with you, don't just take some random person, because everyone tells at least one other person, a fishing spot. So a lot of times that might leave you fishing solo, which seems like a bummer, but man, that can be some of the most fun times on the water when you're out there by yourself. And you get out on the boat quite a bit. On your own a little bit.
Solo.
Yeah, solo.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is kind of helps you be, because that can be tough trying to pole or trying to trolling motor and be on the front and still spot fish. So what are some of your tricks?
Yeah, so the whole reason that this came up was because someone had reached out to me and was like, hey, I've been trying to catch a redfish on fly for the past few months, and I can see them, but every time I see them, I'm already too close, and it's tough because I'm fishing by myself quite a bit, and so I don't have anyone to pull me, and so on and so forth. So that just kind of got my wheels turning about, like, what are some of the best ways to do this? And I'd say a couple things. One thing that I definitely like to do is just be as prepared as possible. So I'll have a bunch of different stuff rigged up. I usually take 8 rods with me. In this time of year, I'll have 4 trout rods and 4 redfish rods. I think just having options for different scenarios is always going to be beneficial. So, like, for instance, having a Ned rig on one redfish rod, and then having a MR17 on another one, and then maybe having a popping cork with just a jig head on the end that I can put a cut piece of shrimp on, just for different scenarios, right? So if you're blind casting, maybe you throw in the popping cork with a piece of shrimp on it.
Yeah.
If you're sight fishing, having the Ned rig or the MR17 ready to go, and just depending on their water, the water that they're sitting in, having that rod available and ready to throw.
Definitely.
As far as like seeing fish, I definitely do a lot of poling when I'm by myself and I'm trying to sight fish. And if I'm fly fishing, I'll have what we call a stripping bucket, which most people probably know what that is, but I'll have a stripping bucket up on the poling platform with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll already have all my line ripped out in the bucket, ready to cast. So when I'm up there poling, if I see a group of fish, I can try and get one more, push towards them, and then just pick up the fly rod and drift towards them. Hopefully they're swimming towards me. But if not, I have that pole caddy on my poling platform that I can just pop it back into if I need to pick up my rod and try and make a cast. But I think there's just so many scenarios where like your line gets tangled, you don't have the right lure on, so on and so forth. So I think in that in that regard, practice helps a lot. The only way to get good at something is to practice it a bunch. And so I think as far as sight fishing is concerned, just getting used to, if you're poling, that is, getting used to poling with your rod right next to you in your stripping bucket, and then really learning how to, when you're stripping your line in, to get it into the bucket.
Right.
Because like and that surprisingly isn't the easiest thing to do. So you got to get like used to it. But it sucks when you're stripping your line in and it's going all behind your boat, all over your lights or whatever, the trim tabs,
anything it can find.
Anything, yeah, and it's gonna find something.
It is gonna find something.
So getting good at that is important, and it wouldn't be something that, or it should be something that you should practice.
Yeah.
Whether that just be going out there and casting for fun on your platform and stripping it into the bucket, or just casting out a bunch of fish and making mistakes and learning along the way.
Definitely.
But I'd say if you're not on the pulling skiff and you're using like a trolling motor or something, what I do in those scenarios is I'll have like 4 rods up there laid next to me, not unlike a bass fisherman.
Right.
And just having different options as far as baits are concerned.
Well, there's a reason those dudes that are making their living fishing tournaments have all their rods rigged up, ready to go right by their feet. I mean, taking that time out of like having to throw something else could be a $1 million decision for them. And for someone who's out there fishing solo on the weekend and wants to catch that one redfish on the fly rod, or wants to catch that one redfish sight fishing, it's important to take away any little bit of, I don't know how to say it. Just make yourself as ready as you possibly can be.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads into organization a little bit as well.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Not so much like, I mean, having your tackle organized is important to me. I know it's not important to a lot of people, and people that are unorganized I'm sure there's plenty of them that catch more fish than me. But I was gonna say organization in the regard of like your boat deck.
Yeah. Like
not, especially in fly fishing, just not having, if you're not using a stripping bucket,
have some extra towels.
Stuff on, yes, have some towels, something to throw over anything that your fly line could get caught on. Because I've done it so many times. There's nothing more frustrating than like fishing for 4 hours and you finally see like a school and you're like, oh my God, this is my chance. And you're getting ready. And you go to make your last cast and all the lines ripping out and then it gets caught on something.
That happens.
To me a lot of times. Yeah, no, it definitely happens. But, that might be the only shot you get that day. And a little bit of preparation can go a long way.
Most definitely.
When you're fishing by yourself, especially, I would say.
I cannot agree more, man. That's so true. So, what is your ready position? Like, you're fishing, you're in an area where you feel like you're going to encounter some redfish, and you're fishing by yourself. How are you set up? What does your boat look like? Where are your rods? How many rods do you have pulled out?
Sure. So, in a fly fishing scenario, I would be poling. My fly rod would be next to me, sitting in the stripping bucket.
With your boat, do you feel like you have to counterweight the bow when you're pulling it by yourself?
No,
it does pretty good by itself.
Surprisingly not. Yeah. So no, I don't have to counterweight it. And then if I can see a group of fish from a distance, I'll try and get a couple pushes to where I'm just gliding kind of towards them, but not, still a decent ways away, especially if they're moving. And then I'll just pop my pole in the pole caddy and get my fly line in my hand and just watch them, because more times than not, they're moving, and there's a good chance they might start swimming right towards you. And being prepared for that is important, because putting a pole in a pole caddy isn't always the quietest thing,
Right.
because it like kind of snaps in, and just that noise can spook them.
For sure.
So being as quiet as possible, trying not to hit like too many oysters with my pole. Um, so for fly fishing, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
And if they are like stuck in a certain area, I'll try and pull up on a piece of grass and just watch them for a little bit, just to see what they're doing,
Definitely.
see if they're staying in one spot, or they swimming one line back and forth. I try and you try and pattern them as much as possible, given the information that you're getting.
Right.
So if there's a little grass point you can set up on, and you can sit there without spooking them, that's always the best option, in my mind. And then for spin fishing, I would say I generally will have 3 rods up on the bow with me. And sometimes I'll I have like the iPilot trolling motor, and sometimes I will stand up on the poling platform while doing the trolling motor. But a lot of times for me in the winter, it's a little too shallow to do that. But if it's not, I'll stand up on the poling platform while using. Yeah, just for the visibility. I mean, anything to increase your chances of seeing fish a little bit earlier is always good. So, I mean, height is the one thing that's going to help you do that. But yeah, with spin fishing, I would probably have a rod in my hand and then 3 laying on the bow, just for different scenarios.
Yeah.
And I mean, not doing pretty much the same stuff. It's not like rocket science. I mean, trolling motors are a little bit louder, I would say, and being really careful that if you are in shallow water, one, it's not hitting the bottom and churning up mud and making noise,
right.
And 2, it's not so high to where the prop is making that like gurgling sound.
Just churning.
Yeah. But I mean, with the spinning rod, at least me personally, I can cast a spinning rod a lot further than I can a fly rod. So it's stopping even before I would if I was fly fishing, especially if I see them like waking or winking, what have you.
Yeah, it's I feel like if I'm fishing solo like that, if I am very confident in where the fish are going to be and that I'm going to see them, I'll throw the fly rod for sure. But if I'm less confident in where I might encounter them, where I'm going to be, I need to be quick and accurate and might be thrown behind the boat, I'm usually going to have the spinning rod for that scenario.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't think I could have put it any better than Cameron. Some boats, if you're on a poling skiff, you have to put a little extra weight. Like I know, take a 5-gallon bucket or 2 5-gallon buckets, bring with you, fill them up with water, put them on the bow. Like my boat does not like to be pulled from like if I'm in any type of current or wind and I'm trying to pull it without anyone else on the boat, it's a big pain in the butt. But even if you don't have a poling boat and you have a trolling motor, being able to go out there and use a trolling motor, put a cooler up on the bow that you can stand on and be able to see a little bit better can be a great way to get out there and do some solo sight fishing. So, I think there's nothing more fun. It's fun to share with friends, but when you're out there by yourself and you like stumble into something and catch a couple fish by yourself and like no one's around and it's just you and the fish, it's a pretty special moment for sure. So, especially in the wintertime, it's cold.
The best part about it is there's no pressure.
Yeah, there's no pressure at all.
Just like you can go do whatever you want. You don't have to catch anything if you don't want.
I feel like sometimes I'm more serious about it and I get kind of pissed at myself when I mess it up. I'll be like, dang.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So, it's a really, really good way to get better at fishing, though.
It is.
Going by yourself, because I feel like you're more open to trying new things and exploring and.
That's such a good point. Yeah. 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 Go fish by yourself and explore. There's no pressure. You don't have to catch fish.
Yeah, no pressure. You don't have to impress anybody. It's just you trying to find fish and get a little bit better.
Heck yeah. Well, dude, you couldn't have said any better. I'm going to let it in with that. Thanks for checking out this mini episode, you guys. We will see y'all next week. Merry Christmas. Love you. Later.